Welcome to the Real Estate Guys radio program. I'm your host, Robert Helms. We are all looking forward to a brand spanking new year. And today we're going to talk about one of the most important team members you have as a real estate investor, and that's your property manager. And we've got an incredible guest today on the Real Estate Guys radio program.
Our friend Tom Wheelwright says if you want to change your tax, you need to change your facts. When's the best time to do that? At the beginning of the year. When's the next best time? By December 31st. Well, the 12 days of Christmas might not be enough time to close your next property and grab a stocking full of bonus depreciation. There are several other things you can do quickly, and some let you deduct your entire investment from your ordinary income in year one. So we're making a list and checking it twice of several nice moves you can make quickly to change your facts and lower your tax immediately. Want to see it? Just send your email request to taxmoves@realestateguysradio.com. That's taxmoves@realestateguysradio.com.
In uncertain times like this, it's great to know there are two things you can always count on: high demand for affordable single-family homes to live in, and Terry Kerr's amazing Memphis team at Mid-South Home Buyers to find, fix, and manage the next addition to your recession-resistant real estate portfolio. The Memphis market is a logistics and distribution dynamo with an economic engine that's essential to moving goods and critical supplies all over the United States. Quality rehab, proven profitable property management, affordable rents, and solid ROI make turnkey property investing through Terry's team a dream when it matters most. To learn more about Memphis and Mid-South Home Buyers, send an email to midsouth@realestateguysradio.com. That's midsouth@realestateguysradio.com. Welcome to the Real Estate Guys radio program. I'm your host, Robert Helms. Happy New Year almost. Let's say hello to our co-host financial strategist, Russell Gray.
Hey, Robert.
I think a lot of people just want 2020 to be done. I mean, this has been just a crazy year, so whether you're catching the tail end of the year or it's a new year for you, welcome to the show, our 25th year of broadcast. For a quarter of a century, we've been doing this show every week. It's crazy, and we thought we'd start out this year with one of the most important topics there is, and that's property management. Now, that might not be what you're expecting me to say, but here's the deal. You can own a property, and unless you get a great property management team in place, it's not going to turn out like you expected. The property manager is the one who has to make the rubber meet the road. We love real estate brokers. We love lenders. We need all those folks, and title and escrow and attorneys and inspectors to get us into a property. But at the end of the day, it's the property manager that makes this business work.
Absolutely. I think that what you're going to know this better than me, Robert. John Mellencamp, the song Little Pink Houses?
Little Pink Houses for you and me.
I always think Little Greenhouses, but he talks about the working class people, the people that pay the bills, that do the work, and it's kind of a middle class song, Fly Over America. And when I look at the real estate universe and all of the different players in it, when I think about that guy or gal that is in the trenches making the thing happen on a daily basis, that really where the rubber truly meets the road, it's the property manager. When you go to invest money in Wall Street, you look at the resume of the money manager. Who's the hedge fund manager? Who's the mutual fund manager? Who's the investment strategist? Who is that person? And they're the ones that are responsible for managing your money to a profit. Well, when you flip that over on the real estate side and you own individual property, that person is either you or your property manager. And there's two sides to it. I'm big about portfolio management, but you can only manage a portfolio if you have successful or profitable properties in that portfolio. And your property manager or your property management team, is depending on how many properties you have and where they're located, are absolutely positively, without any question, the MVPs of the team and largely the unsung heroes.
When people say, I tried real estate and didn't work, or, oh my gosh, I have this terrible property, 9 times out of 10, it has to do with management. Now, some investors decide to manage on their own. And against many popular pundits out there, I'll say this: it's a great way to learn the business and to learn what you don't know and to learn that the best thing you can do is to delegate it. It's a tough business because you're dealing with move-ins, and before that, you're dealing with prospects and everything that brings up. You're trying to vet these people, and then, what does a landlord want? They want to make sure that someone is taking decent care of the property and that they're making their payments. And when things are going great, we don't think about our rental properties. It's only when there are problems that we do. Not to say that having a property manager means you're going to be problem-free. It's not. But look at it this way. If you own 4 rental homes, it would be possible, if they're all in your neighborhood, for you to collect the rents and arrange for the plumber and the painter and all those people. You could do that job. I have a friend that owns over 100 single-family houses, and he manages them himself. Okay, well, I think life is too short to manage property on your own. But if you had 4 or 5 houses, maybe. As soon as you get to an economy of scale, and most folks listening to our show are figuring one day they're going to have a bigger portfolio than they do now. They want more real estate. They want to control more top-line real estate. They want more cash flow. The way you get to that is to raise your game. And that's through just having a team in general. I wouldn't think of going into a place I don't know and trying to represent myself as a buyer. I'm going to find a great agent or broker to help me. If I don't know the laws, I'm going to get a great attorney. If I don't understand taxation, and even if I do, I'm going to get a great CPA. So this is not a place where you want to take a shortcut. In fact, one of the things I've always said about property managers is you don't want to pick a property manager based on price.
No, not at all. Just like you wouldn't pick a dentist or a brain surgeon or a cardiac person. You know, my grandson just broke his leg. I'm pretty sure we're not going to the discount orthopedist, you know. But here's the thing. When you talk about property managers, I mean, I don't think people really appreciate what that is all about. A property manager is a salesperson. They've got to convince the tenant to come in, to take the property, to pay the rent on time, to take care of the property. So it's sales and customer service. They're an accountant. They have to collect the money, manage the expenses. They're an operations person. They're a maintenance person. Now, they may, maintenance supervisor. They may not necessarily do the maintenance themselves. In fact, most of them don't, but they're going to be contracting it out. They're going to be making business decisions about what is a good investment, what's not a good investment. Of course, you have to work out the parameters, but this is a very eclectic, multifaceted set of talents that somebody has to have to really be good at this business. And these things are like unicorns. To find somebody that's really good at all those things, not easy. And when you find one, we have a philosophy. When you find a great property manager, you build a portfolio around them because they're the ones that, make it happen. My favorite question, as you know, Robert, when I see a property manager is, hey, you know this neighborhood, you know this demographic way better than me. You tell me, what do I need to put in your portfolio so your property management practice, that from my perspective, is booming and doing great? And when they do that, I know if they're doing well, I will do well. And that I think just flipping it around is one of the fundamental things that we've learned over the years, just in trying to get good property managers. Give them what they want to do and what they're good at. Let them tell you what that is.
Because the other way doesn't work very well. You go into a town, you find what seems like a great deal, you get to a property manager and they look at it and go, oh my gosh, what made you buy that? Right? You want to talk to the professionals first. And the earlier you get your team together, the better. The thing about property managers is they're often very local. A lot of property managers have a single office and work in one town. While there are a few national property management companies, that's the exception, not the rule. And you find everything from the boutique person with a shingle all the way up to larger companies that have rooms full of managers. And it's not a right or wrong. And yet, because it's a little bit fractured, what's a property manager to do? Well, one of the resources we've appreciated for many, many years is the National Association of Residential Property Managers. Just what it sounds like. It's an association of folks who work in the trenches to do this job. And today on the show, we've got the upcoming president of NARPM. He'll be with us next. When we come back, you'll meet Scott Abernathy today on the Real Estate Guys radio program.
Real estate investment advice right in your mailbox. Sign up for the free Real Estate Guys newsletter at realestateguysradio.com.
Hear ye, hear ye. Registration is now open for the Real Estate Guys 19th Annual Investor Summit. Imagine spending an entire week with like-minded investors, world-class educators, and real-world professionals. Returning this year, our sales legend Tom Hopkins, the editor of the Gold newsletter Brian London, international real estate developer Beth Clifford, and Jim Rohn's 18-year business partner Kyle Wilson. And joining us live and in person for his 9th Investor Summit, Peter Schiff. Plus, returning for his 9th Investor Summit, best-selling author and the Rich Dad advisor for real estate, Ken McElroy. Plus, lots more to be announced. It all begins June 11th in beautiful Belize. Visit realestateguysradio.com and click the tab that says Summit to reserve your spot. This transformational week is like no conference you've ever attended. Go to realestateguysradio.com and click Summit and make plans to spend a week with the Real Estate Guys, Peter Schiff, Ken McElroy, and an all-star faculty on the 19th Annual Investor Summit.
Are you an accredited investor looking for reliable cash flow with some additional upside? You probably realize that energy drives all economic activity. The COVID-19 global slowdown created a temporary crash in oil prices, which in turn opened up a tremendous but little-known opportunity. This unique situation has allowed a seasoned team of oil professionals to craft a compelling structure that locks in profit when oil prices are low, while capturing significant upside when prices increase. And this offering leverages proven oil production, not risky exploration. Sound intriguing? Then your first investment should be the 20 minutes it takes to watch a short video that will detail this high-yield passive income opportunity. Simply send your email request to blueridge@realestateguysradio.com. If you're an accredited investor looking for predictable yield with sizable upside, email blueridge@realestateguysradio.com. That's blueridge@realestateguysradio.com.
Hi, this is Lawrence Yun, Chief Economist with National Association of Realtors, and you are listening to the Real Estate Guys.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Guys radio program, heard every weekend on this great radio station, all the time at realestateguysradio.com. We're glad you're here. We're kicking off the new year. You may be listening at the end of the old year, the year we all want to forget, but we're talking about one of the most important things when it comes to buy and hold real estate, and that is property management. We're happy to introduce you to a gentleman who knows a fair bit about that very topic. Let's say hello to Mr. Scott Abernathy. Hey, Scott.
Hey, guys. How y'all doing today?
Great. Great to have you on the show. And I know you must be busy as the upcoming president of the National Association of Residential Property Managers. Congratulations for that.
Thank you. And we'll make it simple from this point forward. If it's okay, we'll just call it NARPM.
NARPM sounds good to me. You know, my dad was a member of NARPM for years as a real estate broker, so an affiliate kind of arrangement. But boy, he's saying its praises just in terms of, you know, being connected and finding all the right people. Everyone who is good at the business tends to, you know, accumulate in NARPM. And I'm sure there's folks that don't belong, but maybe it's best that way. But before we start with what goes on at the national level, let's talk a little bit about how you got into property management, Scott.
Certainly. It sounds fine. And you can probably tell from my accent, I'm not from Boston. I am from the South. I'm from just outside of Nashville, Tennessee. And wow, I guess what got me into this business goes way back to when I was about 12 years old. My father subscribed to Forbes magazine. You know, he got the Forbes 400 list every year. And I looked at the 400 list, analyzed it. He showed it to me every year. And I realized that if you take out that top 100, and that's the 100 people I call the lucky ones, the people that fell into their money or just had the brilliant idea at the right time, this, that, and the, look at the next 300. And somewhere back in the 80s, somewhere around 70% of them earned their wealth in real estate. So I had an interest in real estate from a very early age. What got me into the property management aspect of it is I wanted to buy and hold real estate. So I was serving in the United States Air Force at the time, and I pooled all of my money I had together with my girlfriend at the time, and we bought a triplex. I was 21, 22 years old. You should have seen me trying to finance a triplex at 22 years old in 1989, if you know what I mean.
Wow.
But that's what got me into it. So I was still serving in the Air Force. So my girlfriend was back home managing it. I get out of the Air Force about a year later, and she hated it. She could not stand it. She tossed those keys to me and said, "We are getting rid of this piece of property." I said, "Wait, hang on, honey, hang on. Let me give it a try." And that's when I fell in love with property management, and it's grown from there. So that's the history of how I got into it.
Well, and it's awesome that folks like you exist, because I tell you what, to me, it is the least glamorous, least exciting, least fun part of the business. But I am thankful every day for my property managers. So we talked a little bit at the beginning of the show about why we think it's important, but let's take it from the property manager's point of view. What are the salient reasons why investors want to make sure they get a great property manager?
Sure. And I'm glad you qualified the great property manager, because I heard your opening. I think Russell called it a unicorn. A great property manager is a unicorn. I'm not going to go quite that far. There are a lot of good property managers out there. There are a lot of bad ones out there as well. So doing your homework to find a good property manager is vitally important. You have to realize that landlording is not a real estate business. It's a people business. You have to keep people in properties or you're not going to be very profitable as a landlord.
Right.
So if you can't deal with people, you're not going to do very well. So you need a property manager that can deal with people. And I tell you, property managers get punched. I heard somebody say a property manager is like a referee of a boxing match where the only one that gets hit is the property manager, the referee, So finding a good somebody that can be good with people, it doesn't necessarily have to be that person in the office. I heard you mention also that some offices have lots of people and specialties and this, that, and the other. A leasing agent in a property management company needs to have good people skills. The property manager themselves needs to have good people skills. Your bookkeeper or accountant, probably not necessarily important, but I think you see what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's such a great point. It is a people business. I mean, it's people that we rent our homes and our apartments to. And let's face it, that comes with a lot of issues. So when there are problems, your property manager is there to deal with it. They're your first line of defense. I think it's also critical people understand that one of the benefits psychologically of having a property manager is that they are not attached to the property like you might be. They're a neutral third party, that they're working on your behalf. They have your best interest in mind, but they're not going to get as into it as you might if you don't have that buffer between you and the tenant.
Robert, I can give you a great example of that for that matter. I think a property manager needs a property manager for the rental properties. And I can give you the example I'm going to give is me personally. I had one of my own personal properties. I own a bunch of rental properties myself as well. And it was available. I had it priced too high. We all want it more than it can really be worth. I'm guilty of it also. Had it priced too high. I had two young ladies that came and made an application on it. And I looked at my leasing agent at the time who was processing that application. And I said, you know what? Don't worry about processing that application. It's my property. Just take them. I need to get it filled. And she looked up at me and quoted everything I've quoted to her about fair housing for many years. And she says, now, Scott Abernathy, we got to treat everybody exactly the same. I said, okay, go ahead and run it. Both of those ladies had evictions on their records. That was a very important lesson to me. I do not manage my own properties anymore. Property managers manage my properties because I think everybody needs that emotional barrier between themselves and their property. Yes.
Absolutely. And the other thing about property management, we're a national show that actually is broadcast in more than 100 countries. So it varies a lot, not only the quality and caliber, but what they do and what law affects it and so forth. Even in the United States, every state has different laws. Every county has different laws. And so there are some places that are more landlord friendly from the law point of view, and there's some places that are more tenant friendly. We get to make those choices as real estate investors, but property managers set up shop in a place that's where they're going to do their work. So how much is it important for a property manager to really understand the local, the state, and the national laws?
Oh, goodness, it is more important than you can possibly imagine, especially right now as these local and state and national laws and regulations are changing by the second. When this comes out, we will have maybe passed a stimulus package, maybe not. As we're recording this, it's sitting on the president's desk. At NARPM, we pay close attention to this and keep our members informed of what we can and can't do. And that gets very granular because you mentioned different states are doing different things. Like the state of Washington, they have a moratorium on evictions through the end of 2021. While the state of Georgia is pretty wide open. So you've got the property manager in that area needs to be very in touch with what's going on in that area. Yes, sir.
Well, let's talk about NARPM because the association has been around for a long time and you're stepping up to be president. What are some of the most important initiatives that you see, Scott, for NARPM in the new year?
So I'm going to be a little biased here because I came up through leadership in NARPM through the Government Affairs Committee. I was the Government Affairs Chairman for 2 years before I became a regional vice president of NARPM and then the treasurer of NARPM and now the president of NARPM. So I believe that one of the most powerful things we can do is the legislative part of it, keeping our members informed as things change. And I think that's been so apparent in the last 10 or 12 months as things have changed so fast. The landlord it's going to be very hard for a landlord to keep in touch as well as a property manager is, because a property manager does this all day, every day, and they're in touch with NARPM, or a NARPM property manager is, to keep them in touch. There are other things, obviously, that NARPM does as well. It's vitally important too. Education ranks really high on that list. Property management is the most litigious part of the real estate industry. And I believe the biggest reason for that is lack of education. There are so many property managers that really do not know what they're doing. They're not connected to a good education outfit. to be able to learn what they're doing or network to learn what they're doing. And that education is vitally important. And then thirdly, I would say the networking aspect of NARPM, where we bounce ideas off of each other, learn from one another. I mean, I know people from all across the country. NARPM has 6,000 members stretching from Washington to Boston. So the networking is vitally important too.
Well, I can definitely testify to that. I've been invited to a few meetings over the years and got to meet some great people. And it's always great when someone will step up and kind of represent the industry. And here's a unique part, especially in the chair you're sitting in now, Scott, is that, as an individual property manager, I mean, there's only so much I can do. I can talk to my congressperson or my mayor, right? I can make my voice known. But what NARPM does is bigger than that. When you talk about, dealing with the government at the very highest level, you're there to represent a huge chunk of property owners, not the owner occupants. That's a whole different area, but these are the good men and women that get up every day and go to work and work hard to pay their rent to somebody who is a landlord that hires one of the property managers that's a part of NARPM. How does that interface work? How do you guys get the word out and decide where to spend your time and resources?
Sure. We have a full-time lobbyist, and his name is Tyler Craddock. He actually lives in Richmond, Virginia, but is in Washington, D.C. a lot. Matter of fact, for the last 2 days, I have the privilege of being the president, so I'm closely connected. I've been getting texts back and forth from him about this stimulus package, on what's going on, how it's getting approved. Is it going to go through this, that, and the other? Just so you know, I got a text from him just a little while ago saying he's 50-50 on whether the president will sign it or not. We're just not sure. Then again, I think that's probably been Donald Trump's forte. He's unpredictable. He can't say anything else. He's unpredictable. So that connection directly goes to NARPM headquarters, which is out of Chesapeake, Virginia. And headquarters, as well as our lobbyist, will put their heads together to put together bullet points to send out to our members. And we send those relatively frequently, but not too frequently. These things that Congress passes or your states pass or your local areas pass, they're thousands of pages long, and you're not going to go through that. That's what we have our lobbyists for. That's what they do. They go through it to see what the benefits are, what's going to hurt. You mentioned state to state stuff. Regulations are not necessarily a bad thing. I'm not a big regulation guy, but from a property manager landlord's perspective, if you don't understand the regulations in your area, you really need a property manager that does. Some states are more heavily regulated than others, so that's going to be a lot. Depends on where you're going to invest in.
Well, and back to the point of this being a litigious area of real estate and business in general, it's because we're talking about people's homes. And when you don't know the laws or the rules, or something in your internal house rules is in conflict with an ordinance, you better figure that out pretty quick, because all renters have rights, in some places more than others, right? Russ and I met and spent a lot of time in the San Francisco Bay Area, which, as you know, is a very tenant-friendly place with rent control in many of the places and so forth. And so the only way you can really flourish in a place like that as a real estate investor is to make sure you do understand, or your manager understands, so you're not doing the wrong thing and end up in the wrong place. We always tell people they should watch Pacific Heights, which is a great movie. It's a little Hollywood, but at the same time, all of the tenant landlord law at the time of that film was exactly correct, having worked in that market for a long time. And it can be downright scary, which is part of what your property manager's job is to do, is to insulate you from the bumps. But let's face it, there's all kinds of bumps that happen in this business.
We bought our first triplex, I mentioned to you before, in October 1st. We closed on it October 1st of 1989. Pacific Heights came out October 13th. We went to see it. We had no idea what it was about.
And you went, what were we thinking?
Exactly. Absolutely.
Well, I'll tell you a quick little story. In our book, Equity Happens, we have a chapter on the free duplex. And for years, we would tell the story about how you get a free duplex. Your first duplex could be free. And it's a story of repositioning equity. And I would tell some parts of the story, and Russ then put it together in this amazing format that we would teach. And we were doing a consultation one day, and I decided, what would be really smart is for us to go get freeduplex.com. So I went over to the computer while he's sitting with some folks, and sure enough, it's available. And I think, well, that's great. While I'm at it, I should get freefourplex.com. So sure enough, free fourplex is available, and I grab it. And then I say, well, why not free triplex? And free triplex was taken. And I'm like, well, how would somebody not take free duplex, not take free fourplex, but take free triplex? And I went to the website, and all this stuff started coming up, and Russ is looking at me because it was freetriplex.com. So I figured a property manager would appreciate that, especially a guy that started out buying a triplex. But, when it comes to dealing with customers in any business, it's so critical. You mentioned how important it is that a property manager, at least the majority of the people on the team, are people. They understand relationships. I would take that a step further, Scott, because not only do you have to be great on the front end, friendly, empathetic, understanding. Some people have to move because of bad situations. Sometimes, they got evicted. They didn't want to move. There's all kinds of reasons why you need to have heart. But at the same time, it takes a unique temperament in that when things don't go well, you can't just be a nice person. You've got to be firm and fair and all of that. Can you speak to that part? How can you, hold on loosely, if you will, but make sure that the rules are followed by the tenants?
I certainly can. And you're exactly right. The property management business, which is an extension of the landlording business, is a conflict business. There's conflict in it. And in property management, you've got one side that wants it this way. They don't want to spend any money on what they're doing. You got the other side that wants it this way. They want it fixed and they want it fixed now. Or they don't want to pay their rent or whatever the case may be. So yes, you've got to be prepared for conflict. Do I think you have to have reason? Every property manager is going to have their own philosophy on this. I know property managers and landlords that are rigid by the book. If it's late by this day, it is going to court this day. If it's late by this day, there is no bending the rules or anything like this or any exceptions or whatever. That's not my philosophy. I think, again, this is not right or wrong here. It's just what it is. I think if you got a good tenant that's fallen on a hard time and you feel like they're going to be able to get out of that hard time, I think you work with them. I don't think you stick to such rigid rules. Again, what the other philosophy, I'm not saying it's wrong, it's just not mine. So you pick a property manager based on your landlording philosophy.
Well, I love that. It's a big part of finding the right team member.
Absolutely.
Russ talked about the question we always ask, which is, Mr. Property Manager, what can I put in your portfolio that'll make both of us successful, which is great. But there's also the bigger picture of the property manager is the one who's at the street level every day, dealing with tenants, what their wants and needs are. They know pricing, they know all of that. And so often the property manager can know more pertinent information about a neighborhood than even the real estate brokers.
I would say the best thing one of your listeners could take from this whole conversation would be, if you have a good property manager, listen to them and take their advice. I'll give you a great example. Appliances. By and large, if an appliance stops working, you probably have put in inexpensive appliances to start with. It's a rental property. If you send an appliance repair company out there, you are most likely wasting your money. They're going to come back and say, this is not repairable. It needs to be replaced. And you just spent $75 to find that out.
Right.
I would advise people not to worry about that. Go replace the doggone thing. You know what I mean? For the most part, that's not always the case. But listen to your property manager. They've been there. They've done that. They've got the experience. Please listen to them. They're going to tell you some stuff that you don't want to know. I have clients of mine that refer to me as Bad News Scott. When they see Scott Abernathy's phone number come across their phone, they're like, oh no. And I don't like that, but the reality is frequently when you're hearing from your property manager, it's not going to be good news. They're not calling to wish you a Merry Christmas. Okay, maybe we will, but you know what I mean.
Our guest is Scott Abernathy. He's the incoming president of the National Association of Residential Property Managers. More when we come back, plus we'll play real estate trivia next. You're tuned to the Real Estate Guys radio program. I'm your host, Robert Helms.
Live nationwide, you're listening to the Real Estate Guys. Find out more at realestateguysradio.com.
Are you achieving everything you want in life? What if there was a time-tested way for you to get all you've dreamed of? The most successful people in life set goals and keep themselves accountable. But how? The good news is that it's not rocket science. You too can learn the skills and unleash the motivation that will create success in your life. And now is the time. Hi, this is Robert Helms, and I'd like to personally invite you to attend Create Your Future, the 2021 Goals Retreat, January 8th to 10th, now in Dallas, Texas. This unique weekend event has been called phenomenal, inspirational, and life-changing by the thousands of people that have attended. Hear from some of them and find out more at realestateguysradio.com under events or call 888-489-7723 extension 18. Get your life back on track physically, spiritually, and financially. Attend the live in-person 2021 Goals Retreat on the second weekend of the new year. Click events at realestateguysradio.com to register. This is no dress rehearsal. Live the life you were meant to. Visit realestateguysradio.com or call 888-489-7723, extension 18 today.
Real Estate Guys listeners, are you tired of losing real estate deals due to financing issues? Have you had enough of waiting on banks, lenders, and investor groups to fund new projects? What if there were a way to eliminate all the hassle and invest in real estate on your own terms? I'm here to tell you there is. Patrick Donahoe here from Paradigm Life. I'm an Investopedia Top 100 Most Influential Financial Advisor, and I recently wrote a best-selling book about the financial strategy that changed my entire investment model, and the one that could change yours. To get a copy of my book for free and learn how you can maximize your real estate portfolio by acting as your own bank, send an email to mybank@realestateguysradio.com. Don't make another real estate deal without reading my book first. Email mybank@realestateguysradio.com now to get your copy for free.
Hi, I'm Robert Kiyosaki, and I encourage you to listen to those wild and crazy real estate guys. They're the best, been working for years, and they know what they're talking about.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Guys radio show. Thanks for tuning into the show today. We're thrilled that you're here. We're looking forward to 2021. And if you hurry, you can still make it out to the 2021 Goals Retreat. We call it Create Your Future. It happens January 8th through 10th in Dallas, Texas. Get all the details at goalsretreat.com. That's goalsretreat.com. We're talking about the importance of property management, picking the right manager, and staying up to date. Our guest is Scott Abernathy. Before we return to our conversation with Scott, it's time to play Real Estate Trivia. That's your chance to win a prize by knowing today's Real Estate Trivia question. In just a moment, when you hear the question and think you know the answer, send your best guess to trivia@realestateguysradio.com. Trivia@realestateguysradio.com. Include your name, the answer to the question, and your mailing address. If you're the winner, we're going to send you an awesome book called Desire, Discipline, and Determination. Just what you may need for a brand spanking new year. That could be yours if you know today's real estate trivia question. Last week we had Anton Matley on the program talking about commercial financing. We asked this: in which country was tinsel invented? Well, a few folks knew that tinsel was invented in Germany back in 1610 and was once made of real silver. You mean yours is not? Here's our real estate trivia question for this week. One New Year's tradition is to eat 12 grapes at midnight on December 31st while making wishes. The tradition is believed to bring good luck for those who practice it. Where did it originate? Yeah, what large chunk of real estate, what country originated this tradition of eating 12 grapes at midnight? If you know, or you just want to guess, send your best speculation to trivia@realestateguysradio.com. Trivia@realestateguysradio.com. All we need is your name, your mailing address, and the answer to the question. The first person that gets it right gets this incredible book, Desire, Discipline, and Determination. That's today's real estate trivia question. We're starting off the year or ending the year, depending on when you're listening, talking about property management, really the key to any successful real estate relationship as a landlord. And our guest is Scott Abernathy. He's been in the property management business a long time and is now stepping up to be the president of NARPM, which is awesome. Now, you mentioned, Scott, that you're from outside Nashville, Tennessee. Tell us a little about your property management practice and how it's organized and your team and what kinds of properties you specialize in.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm part of Property Management, Inc. I heard y'all talk at the beginning that there are large property management companies and local small property management companies. Property Management, Inc. is a franchise that goes from coast to coast all across the country. We have about 300 different franchisees, and almost all of them are, just like Russell said earlier, local. They work in their offices, their businesses, and work locally. I have a franchise that's right outside of Nashville. It's called Property Management, Inc., PMI Professionals. We manage around 500 units there. We have another office in Huntsville, Alabama. If you're familiar with our geography, it's just about 90 miles south of us. So it's a kind of more of a satellite office than it is anything. So our market stretches from Huntsville to Nashville. And again, altogether, we manage about 500. We do have another office in Memphis that is one of my offices as well. It's managed by Thomas Blanche. He's our property manager there. Manage about 300 there as well. Keep going. We're in a growth mode. So if anybody needs some help, I'm here.
Well, I like that, being in multiple markets, and in fact, in this case, multiple states, gives you a bigger perspective too. And of course, that's going to be helpful as you consider the needs of members from everywhere. And that's part of, the changing landscape in management. We always say that even though Russ and I originally are from Silicon Valley, we don't expect there to be a technology that will eliminate the need for human beings to sleep under a roof. So I think property management is here to stay. And, we talked earlier about, I think the worst way to hire a property manager is to see who charges the least, because there's not a lot of margin in the business anyway. Yet there are some things you probably can ask. So what are some questions that landlords should be asking if they're considering bringing on a property manager?
Sure. And I'm a landlord also, so I understand price is important. You're right. Property management is a nickel and dime business. There's not giant margins, but then again, are there really giant margins in any business? If there were giant margins in a business, everybody would be jumping into it to shrink those margins. So we have to respect that. There's no doubt about that at all. So yes, first you want to find out what they charge, and you're probably going to get a quote of a management fee. And that's going to be either a percentage of the income or maybe a flat fee. Everybody's going to be a little bit different there. If you get one that is a low monthly management fee, chances are you've got other fees that are going to be attached to it as well. A very common one would be a leasing fee that's charged whenever you lease it, a renewal fee, things like that. They're all going to add up to pretty close to the same for a profitable property management company, because you just can't make it without it being profitable. You know what I mean? If you find somebody that's not quite as expensive, good chance it's going to be I don't want to throw realtors under the bus, a real estate agent who's kind of doing property management on the side. That's where you can wind up getting yourself in some trouble. You got to be very cautious with that. You want to find out how long they've been in the business, where their market area is. A good example is my market area is east of Nashville. If you send me to West Nashville, I'm not going to be nearly as good. So you want to find out if they're going to work in your area. And I tell you, I think the most important thing is find out if they're a NARPM member. If they are a NARPM member, then find out what kind of education they've gotten from NARPM. NARPM provides 3 different designations. One of them is the Residential Management Professional, RMP. That's the starting designation. Then Master Property Manager, and I've got both of those designations. And then there's the CRMC, and that is a firm designation, the Certified Residential Management Company. That's where I would start. If I'm looking for a property manager, I'd go to narpm.org. That's NARPM.org. And find a property manager in your area. You may not find one. If you don't, well, then you might have a little tougher time. But that's where I would start looking for a property manager.
Well, that's the advice we've given for years to folks. We say, if you know someone in the area that raves about their property manager, a referral is awesome. Absent that, NARPM's a great place to go, because it is a place where people come who want to be better in their business, who want to be educated, who want to stay plugged into what's going on. And in your new role as president, I will say you've selected a really interesting time, Scott, to take this on. We are at this crazy time with the eviction moratoriums, and you mentioned Oregon and California, and oh my gosh, what's to be done? What are you hearing from the other managers about how they're handling this? Because it's new territory for a lot of people.
Obviously, the vaccine is going to help as we get the world back open, whether you're going to take it or not. Some people are, and we'll get the world back open. That'll make a big, big difference. The challenge with that is, where are our tenants going to be at that time? Are they going to be 10 months behind? If they are, you guys know as well as I do, they're never catching up from a hole like that. You're going to have to remove them and replace them. And tenants many times are judgment proof. The landlord's going to have to eat most of that. They can get all kinds of judgments they want, but you can't squeeze blood out of a turnip. The stimulus package that was passed by the House and Senate last night, which may or may not be signed by the president, does include up to 3 months worth of rent payments that a landlord can apply for on behalf of their residents. The residents can do it as well, but a landlord can do it on behalf of them. I do not know what the strings are attached to it. I reached out to my lobbyist today saying, I want to know what the strings are. You know how it is when you get money from the government, frequently there are strings attached and you may not want them. So pay close attention to that moving forward, assuming something like that passes. if we don't get a stimulus where rents are being paid for by the government for some of these folks, they're never going to get out of the holes that they're in. So a lot of it is very unpredictable. I am concerned moving forward beyond COVID as to, again, I'm a government affairs guy, so I've seen the things regulatory agencies have, the precedents that have been set by like the CDC, the Department of Housing and Urban Development, your local states. I've seen these precedents being set. I'm worried about how they're going to use these precedents when it comes to affordable housing or other issues that we have that we've kind of left on the back burner because of COVID, but they're still there. If we don't get our arms around affordable housing as an industry, the government's going to do it for us. And that worries me, what's going to happen moving forward. Rent control does not work, by the way.
Well, let's talk about that, because rent control is something that we've certainly seen kind of steered away from the areas where it's the hardest. But my dad always took issue with rent control, not because it isn't nice to be able to provide housing for people that maybe don't have the means at the moment for whatever reason. It's because it lands on the back of just the landlord. So when you look at the value of a property, an income property is valued as some multiple of its income. And if something restricts the income, then it also restricts the value. Now, if it's me and my manager and we restrict the income and I don't take care of my property so I can't get as much rent, well, that's on me. But when any jurisdiction comes in and says, no, you can't charge the market rate, that's where it becomes difficult. If we're all going to do it, let's all do it. But I'll leave that to you and your lobbyists. I think, moving forward, you make an excellent point, which is how do you get caught up? It's like these forbearance agreements, which is, okay, you're not going to have to pay your mortgage payment for 4 months, but in the 5th month, you have to pay all of the payments. Well, how does that help? And we have tenants now who I think didn't start out trying to be bad tenants. They got, their job at the movie theater or the restaurant went away. They were furloughed. They couldn't make their rent payment. They went to the management company and said, hey, I'm having a challenge. And of course, you guys navigate through all of that. But the longer it goes, the further they get behind. Some people are back at work, but some still aren't. It's just going to create, I think, this awareness that landlords are just going to have to understand. They may never see that money again. I do think there are some positives that came out of it. I know a lot of folks now have, virtual showings and things like that. Talk about some of the things you've seen your industry, change as they've had to deal with the realities of COVID.
Yes, that has been huge. The technologies that have been adopted by property managers, our company and PMI has had the virtual showings adopted for some time. I will say this, though, prior to COVID, sometimes that was hard to sell to an owner. Wait, you're not going to escort somebody into my property?
Right.
It doesn't matter how safe you can show them it is. It just makes them nervous. Not so much anymore. As a matter of fact, it's a selling point for a property manager because a showing system that has no human contact is not inexpensive. It's an expensive proposition to put in place. And if you're an owner of 1 or 2 properties, you really can't afford to put that kind of system in place. You hire a property manager, already has it, and it's built in. It's already built in for you.
Speaking of technology, Scott, I know that a lot of property managers today are able to do things like collect their rent online and all of that. I remember I was an on-site residential manager for an apartment building, a couple different apartment buildings, and I'd go knock on the door and then, collect cash sometimes. I mean, hopefully those days are over. But one of the things you'll find about property managers is when you Google a property manager, they're always rated terribly. Like, it's hard to find a 5-star review on a property manager. I think the reason's obvious. It seems to me like, well, the only person who's going to review is not the satisfied tenant who loves their property manager. Why would they need to review? It's only that person who probably did something stupid and got the manager mad at them. Can you speak to that?
Certainly. And, if you're going to look at reviews for somebody on their property management company, don't just look at the star rating. Look at the reviews themselves. You're going to find a lot of them are going to be just what you said. I want to say ours in Murfreesboro is a 2.6. And I'm kind of proud of that because my 2.6 is because I'm working for my owners.
Yeah.
I'm letting people know most of those reviews are going to be the 1-stars are going to be, well, they didn't accept my application because of such and such. And of course, we'll comment on it. Of course, we can't disclose information, but you didn't qualify, and we're working for our owners, or they didn't give me my security deposit back, or they threw me out of a property. Again, this is a conflict business, so you're not always going to get positive reviews. Now, if you're logging on there and you're reading those reviews and you see owners commenting saying they stole my money, or they didn't pay me on time, or they didn't communicate, communication is vitally important in the property management business, then you might want to be a little trepidatious. but I wouldn't just look at the star rating by itself. That's right.
And you did mention earlier this idea that you're looking for a match. It's not just this is property management company, ethical, reliable, been in business. That's part of it. But also you want to make sure there's a personality match. You want to understand how often you're going to get communication. Yeah, I don't want to get the phone call, but I want to get the phone call. I don't want to not get the phone call, right? So I'm guessing that my property manager isn't saying, hey, just wanted to let you know the tenant paid on time. But there is communication, and that part is a critical part of any business, but this business especially.
And that match goes both ways. A good property manager will be looking for the match in the landlord as well. I mean, you may be a great landlord, but if you don't match my system by either the quality of your properties or your expectations, if I can't meet your expectations, then you and I are not a match. So you're exactly right. A match is vitally important.
Well, Scott, this has been great stuff, and we appreciate you sharing time with us about this, but even more so appreciate you stepping up to the presidency. Congratulations on that, but I know you have a lot of work ahead of you, and we'll keep our eye out for you.
Thank you so much. Man, this time flew by. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
That's Scott Abernathy. Not only is he with Property Management, Inc., he's also the president in 2021 of the National Association of Property Managers. Great to get that perspective. More when we come back. You're tuned to the Real Estate Guys radio program. I'm your host, Robert Helms.
Need help with your real estate investment portfolio? Check out the resources page at realestateguysradio.com.
Hey, it's Robert Helms. Thanks so much for listening to the show today. I want to personally invite you to come see an amazing real estate market that combines excellent cash flow, offshore diversification, and what we affectionately call lifestyle investing. Come join me from January 29th to February 1st in the beautiful country of Belize. The Real Estate Guys have been bringing investors to Belize for more than 15 years now, and with the Belize airport open again, our discovery trip is designed to show you the market like nobody else can. Sure, Belize is breathtakingly beautiful. The people are wonderful, and wait till you taste the food. But the real opportunity is the real estate investment potential. Demand for offshore real estate has skyrocketed since the coronavirus shutdown, and with retirees looking for lifestyle, the work-from-home workforce able to be productive from afar, and tourism coming back strong, now may be the perfect time to consider Belize as a place to diversify risk in your investment portfolio. There's all types of opportunity in Belize when it comes to real estate investing, including both long and short-term rentals, commercial and retail triple net properties, business opportunities, land acquisition, development, agriculture, and more. And as the only country in Latin America with English as its official language, it's easy to understand the law. Property rights are strong, and contracts are in English. And in Ambergris Caye, a unique situation exists where demand for rentals continues to outstrip supply, creating a compelling environment for investors. So come see for yourself. Join me at the end of January in Ambergris Caye, Belize, as we study the market, learn about the sustainable drivers, and tour lots of beautiful real estate. And like all of our field trips, there are no properties for sale during the weekend. Rather, you'll meet lots of local providers that will help educate you about the market so you can follow up with them after the trip. But that ball's in your court. You'll receive their contact details, but they won't receive yours unless you give it to them. You've heard about Belize and the Real Estate Guys for all these years. Now come see what all the excitement is about. Plus, we'll have lots of time over meals and activities to talk about all things real estate. To get the details, go to the website at realestateguysradio.com and click on Events, where you'll find the Belize Discovery Trip. Once you register, you'll get information about our group hotel rates as well as travel details. So join me in Belize, January 29th to February 1st. It's a beautiful country with lots of amazing possibilities, and the only thing missing is you. Go to realestateguysradio.com under Events. I look forward to seeing you in beautiful Belize.
Hey, this is Phil Collin from Def Leppard and Delta D. You're listening to the Real Estate Guys.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Guys radio show. Hey, if you ever wanted to do bigger deals using other people's money, well, it's time to get signed up for the Secrets of Successful Syndication. It happens live in Dallas, Texas in March. And you can find out all the details on our website at realestateguysradio.com under Events, or just send an email to syndication@realestateguysradio.com. Well, awesome to meet and learn from Scott Abernathy.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this. You know, one of the things that I love about what we do is our brand opens a lot of doors. People contact us, or if we find somebody that we'd like to get to know, we call them up. And because of our wonderful listeners and our great reviews and all of that, that people want to be on the show and we get a chance to get into a relationship with them. And when I first met Scott and heard a little bit about what he was doing and what his vision was, I said, hey, I think that we could probably find a way to work together a little bit more. And so I'm excited about that because I just feel that there is not enough great content out there about property management. Most of it is about teaching the individual investor how to be the property manager. I don't think people need that. When you used to teach landlord boot camp, it was great, but you just kind of promoted the syndication seminar. And I'm telling you, Kenny McElroy started in the property management business, is still in the property management business. And you made the point, Robert, and pretty much no matter what goes on in this economy, that's a business that's not going anywhere. And that ought to be a big light bulb to folks. It's like, wow, that's a business I could be in that would be pretty safe. So if you're listening to this, and you're thinking, I don't know what my future looks like, this is an area, real estate and residential real estate in particular, in spite of what you hear about all the doom and gloom. Yes, there are challenges, but people are going to need to have roofs over their head. That isn't going to change. There's going to be a transfer of their productivity to the owner of that property and the manager of that property called rent. There's disruptions right now, but these things cannot be allowed to go on or everybody's going to be evicted living on the streets and there's going to be a bunch of empty houses. That makes no sense. As long as we have private property rights, then landlords have an opportunity. And the fact that there's chaos means that there's a lot of opportunity. But coming back to this idea of syndication, if you find a great property manager in a marketplace, you don't need to just invest in your own account. I mean, you can go raise capital from other people and really fill that portfolio up, become the most important client of that property management. Why would you want to do that? Well, because that property manager is the first person to know when a property in the area is available. Not only can they feed you tenants, but they can actually feed you inventory. Now, they're not the listing agent necessarily, and I appreciated what Scott had to say about understanding the difference between what somebody's primary business is. If a real estate agent is primarily a real estate agent and does property management on the side, I'm not saying they can't do a good job at property management, but that's not the focus. Somebody that's a member of NARPM, somebody that's leading with property manager, that's their focus. I tend to think that that's where you're going to be better off, but understand how to develop the relationship to its fullest. And so I know we're going to be spending more time with Scott in the upcoming year and talking about how to do that really at a high level, because it's one of the best assets you can have, either as an individual investor and certainly as a syndicator.
You mentioned Ken McElroy. Of course, he's the Rich Dad advisor for real estate and the author of many best-selling books, and he'll be joining us for his 9th Investor Summit. We're going to be in beautiful Belize in June. It's the highest level event the real estate guys do. So if you want to hang out with Kenny and Tommy Hopkins and Peter Schiff and a whole bunch of awesome people, well, get your reservation in. We are more than 3/4 full, but we'll make room for you. If you're fast, make it a New Year's resolution. Hey, big thanks to Scott Abernathy. We wish him success in his year as president for the National Association of Property Managers. And Happy New Year to one and all. Until next week, go out and make some equity happen.
This episode of the Real Estate Guys radio show is brought to you by Paradigm Life. Powerful cash management strategies using life insurance. Learn more at beyourbank.com. Mid-South Home Buyers, low-cost, turnkey cash flow properties in Memphis, Tennessee. Corporate Direct, asset protection strategies for real estate investors from attorney and Rich Dad advisor Garrett Sutton. Find these and other great companies under the Resources tab at realestateguysradio.com. To learn how you can expose your product or service to the Real Estate Guys audience, call 888-489-7723 extension 4. That's 888-489-7723 extension 4. Or use the feedback page at realestateguysradio.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week right here on the Real Estate Guys Radio Show.